How many of us have really faced challenges in their life, struggles, financial crisis, and yet they achieved what they really wanted to achieve in their life? I'm sure every one of us present here must have gone through this process somewhere, some or the other way. I want to tell you all a story. The story is about myself. The story is about my journey. This story has repeated failures, financial crisis, legal battles, even landing myself in prison. But you know, that one thing that never left me was my passion to move forward. You know, success is never inherited. Success is never inherited. There was an amazing study by the National Study of Millionaires in United States that this was published in 2024, which gave an amazing discovery that 79% of millionaires in United States were all first-generation entrepreneurs, and only 21% inherited the wealth. What does this mean? It simply means that even though you are entering a second-generation family business, you have to think like a first-generation entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs create opportunities and they see it everywhere. I remember passing out from the college, and I went to my dad and I asked him that I want to join the family business. You know, the question that he asked me was very astonishing, and I was speechless. He's like, son, tell me that one skill that you possess that's going to scale up the business to the next level. And it kept me thinking, and I was like, I really need to identify that skill which I am good at. And I didn't have an answer. My dad simply said, just go out, learn something, understand yourself, come back to me with an answer, and I will let you in the business. I said, fantastic. I started searching, and I really wanted to excel myself in sales and marketing. And I started searching for a job, and I realized that I should select a job which will really excel me in sales and marketing. And I selected the toughest job in the world, that was selling credit cards. I got a job. Beautiful feeling, you know, when you get a job, you go, you think about, I'll get a desk, I will be, you know, getting an induction, training, wonderfully, articulating everything about yourself. First day I go on the job, and I was diverted to the basement. Once I reach there, I see hundreds of salesmen sitting there. Hundreds of salesmen. And I really didn't think whether there is a place for my own self. The boss comes the next minute, and he says, everyone has to sell 100 credit cards. That was the first month target. The guy sitting next to me, I asked him, where is the induction? Where is the training? The target is your training. Target is your induction. Just go out in the field and sell credit cards. I said, wonderful. Next day, they all send, the boss sends us to the field. For 15 days, I was struggling, and I actually decided that I want to quit this job, because sales and marketing was not for me. Everywhere I went, petrol pumps, I went to hotels, parking lots, everybody was rejecting. And I said, really, this is the job? And I said, I will go to my dad and tell him, just adjust me somewhere in the, admin department. You know, one day I really thought that I don't want to give up. If I've really thought of learning something, I should not give up. I was walking by the road, and I see a man passing by. I stopped him. I said, sir, can you please buy one credit card? The immediate response was, why one? I will take 5 credit cards. And I was shocked. Like, what is that thing that he asked for 5 credit cards where there was no sales, no marketing? It was just a simple pitching. And he said 5 credit cards. Others would have enjoyed or celebrated this success, but for me, it was a time to learn and understand what is that one particular thing that helped me or can help me build my own self. For 15 days, I stood in the sun, under the sun. You know what I realized? That while I was conversing with this man, he had been drinking. I immediately turned and I see a bar over there. What should be my next step? I go to the bar, I tell Shetty Anna that please give me few minutes or hours. I have a target. Somehow I convinced him. You all won't believe. My target of 1 month was 4x in just 3 hours because nobody knew what they were signing. The simple message was, or is, as an entrepreneur, what I feel, opportunities, when it comes knocking on your doors, grab it. I don't believe in this. Entrepreneurs are made and they create opportunities for themselves. That's a simple story. Next day I leave the job, I go to my dad and I say, I want to join the business and I want to really excel myself in sales and marketing. I was very confident, but the unfortunate scene or the unfortunate situation for me was when I joined the family business, it was under a major financial crisis. For 15 years, I struggled. For 15 years, we actually didn't see growth in the business. For 15 years, we didn't see it happening for the company because every few years, we were making our financial crisis much bigger than what it was before, because in our family business, fraternity, people really see that reputation is something really big. Right? And just to save that one reputation, we keep borrowing just to pay the older loans. Our company and our family, we actually reached an interest of 9% per month. Now imagine that every borrowing we took was going zero in 1 year. I had to take a decision and to identify that what is that thing that we were doing wrong. 2 steps and 2 decisions that changed my life. A, we were into a mere trading business, trading of chemicals. I had to shut down. And second was the decision maker. I told my dad one day, I said, let's go on a drive. Respectfully, I explained him everything that, this is my time and I really want to excel myself. If I again run the business the same way it has been running till now, I won't be able to make it for myself. Somehow he was convinced with a very melodramatic drama in a business family. He was convinced. 2016, finally I took charge of the business. First decision I take was to shut down my trading business, and I took that decision in 24 hours. Lot of troubles, lot of problems I faced. My family were angry, my people around me were angry, but I believed that, if some things have to change, there has to be hard decision making. I did that. The repercussion was my assets were frozen. It was auctioned. We were financially broken. And we were completely homeless. It kept me hurting that, Krishna, really you think you have taken the right decision for yourself? Again, the belief did not break. We ventured into manufacturing, leaving aside the problems that we had. We called out the creditors that give us some time. We called out the bankers that give us some time. And we said, we need some time to rebuild ourselves. We borrowed some money from our friends and relatives and we restarted the business. But this time it was not trading, it was a manufacturing entity. And we started with a non-conventional product which was replacing a toxic chemical in the industry. But we started with a non-conventional product because we had understood that Europe had shifted 15, 20 years back from this technology. But there was no demand. 2 years we struggled, and there was a notification by the government of India that India has to ban the usage of toxic chemical and has to start using a sustainable product. This is what we call serendipity, which means happens by chance. And we were prepared for that. We were seeing a beautiful life ahead. We were thinking that, things are going to change. We were thinking that life is going to be so beautiful ahead. Now there is no stoppage. At one side, the thought process is of rebuilding ourselves, excelling in our business. And at one side, I lose a past legal battle in Supreme Court, which landed me in a prison. You know, I really remember a beautiful scene from a Bruce Lee movie where I've been seeing this since my childhood, and that scene doesn't go away from my heart. Where Bruce Lee was fighting the enemies, he landed himself in an elevator. He didn't have any way out. What would be the thinking of a person? Bang the elevator, come out, break the elevator. Nothing. He just sat there, meditated until the enemies thought that he is finished. Enemies opened the elevator, and there he kills them. I came out of the prison in 39 days, winning the case against the state. 8 years later, I built a company which is debt-free. We built one of the largest manufacturing capacities in the world. We have multiple verticals. And there's no moving back. Very simple things, in life we have to follow. The struggles are going to be there in everybody's life. But if you stand there like against the storm, nothing is going to beat you. Nothing is going to beat you. I would like to conclude with a beautiful quote, which first I will explain what it means. Be patient. Be courageous. Stand there. Difficult times will pass. And you will make it big for yourself. हिम्मत कर, सबर कर, बिखर कर भी संभल जाएगा. हिम्मत कर, सबर कर, बिखर कर भी संभल जाएगा. यकीन कर, शुक्र कर, वक्त ही तो है यारो, बदल जाएगा. With this, I like to conclude with one of the best lessons that my dad ever taught me. Integrity is who you are when no one is watching you. Thank you so much.